In this tutorial, we're going to develop the UV map for our BattleBot. I'm going to start by deleting the bottom fin because it will be a duplicate of the one on top but smaller. So rather than have to texture map both of these elements, I'm going to delete the smaller one. Before we go any further, we want to make sure that we have combined the elements that we want to texture map as complete entities. So the wing should be comprised of a combined element with the flat polygon square, the sphere and the cylinder, and then all the components of the legs should be combined as one. And when you select part of it, the whole thing will turn green, and that will just make sure that when we proceed now, we can map these UVs properly. So the last thing I'm going to check now is the propeller, and that should be now the blades plus that little knob in the middle. Alright, next I'm going to marquee all the components. I'll select and drag across, and then I'm going to shift select on the cone because we're going to put a separate color on that. The UV map that we'll develop in Photoshop will be comprised just for the body and the arm. This will use an internal node from Maya. Once I've got them selected, I'm going to right click and choose Assign New Material. I'm going to click on Arnold, Standard Surface. Now with them selected, we're going to put that default checkerboard pattern that is a built-in node in Maya. I'll hold down my right mouse, I'll go to Material Attributes, and I'm going to follow out the checkerboard at the end of the color node under Base, and I'll click on Checker. And if you don't see the checker pattern readily, make sure that you hit 6 on the keyboard, otherwise it'll remain gray. Once again, I'm going to make sure I'm in my object mode. I'm going to select all the geometry, and I will delete by type history. And then I'm going to go to Modify, Freeze Transforms. It will clear the default UV map for the cube in particular from its original shape and allow us to map the UVs proportional to the faces. So the first thing we'll do is let's select the cube that comprises the body, and we'll hold down the space bar, and we're going to go to UV and we'll click on Automatic. Now I'm going to go to my UV editor. The UV editor is a green box with a checkerboard pattern. If you don't see it on your dock, you can go up to UV on the user interface, and at the very top is your UV editor. If you wish to apply it to your shelf, that would be Command Shift UV editor. I'm going to click on that now, and I'm going to turn off the checkerboard inside the UV because I want to be able to see the planes by themselves. And I can do that by clicking the second icon from the left next to the word checker. I'll turn that off, and I can see now, because I've used Free Transform, these UV sections are proportional to our geometry. Now we're going to sew these together. And you'll notice that when you roll over your geometry, it shows you where the faces are, and that'll be kind of important because we're going to be putting a texture on with that flame on it. We'll go over that in class probably, but I want to make sure that I've got the orientation visually when I go into Photoshop. So it's a good thing to be aware of. We can always have Photoshop open as well as Maya and do this. I'm going to right click on any of the shells and I'll choose Edge. You will see a corresponding edge selected as well. And I'm going to click on the Move and Sew. Now, I've got it on my dock already, but if you don't see the Move and Sew, you may need to put the custom shelf on top of the UV editor. So I'll go to View, and if I click on Custom Shelf, you'll get a more advanced or wider dock inside the UV editor. Now, if I were to hold down Command and Shift and go to Cut and Sew, you'll see there's your Move and Sew tool. Now that I've started this, I'm going to start to sew a few more together by simply selecting an edge and either hitting G or clicking on the Move and Sew. And I'll zoom back. I'm opening it up as if it were a box. I'll select that, hit G or move and so, and save it. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to select that now complete shell by right-clicking and choosing UV shell. I'll select it, get W for my move tool. I'm going to pull it out from that corner where everything falls once we apply the UV map to it. So if I was to go in and start to click and add my planar mapping, say, to the wing, it would be on top of the box shell if I left it in that area. So it's a good idea to start to pull these out from that central area. This will just make it easier to apply the UV map to separate pieces. Next we'll do the wing. I'll select the wing, I'll go to the object mode, and for this we want to use planar mapping. And the edges are not important in the texture mapping process. It's the top surface where we'll put a metallic texture and then you'll put your own little design on. So that's going to be planar mapping in the y-axis. Any horizontal surface is planar mapping y. With the wing selected, I'll hold down the space bar and I'll go to UVs, and I'm going to go to planar mapping and to the attributes. It's a good idea to go to edit reset settings before you start. I'm going to set it for Y and then I'll hit apply. Now if we take a look, the checkerboard pattern is not perfectly square like on our cube body. So we need to go to the channel window to fix that. I'll hit Control A on the keyboard, or I'll click on the tab for the channel box. And the thing we need to make sure is that both the projection width and height are the same number. So I'll click and drag through both of them. I'll make them both 3. And you'll see now that your pattern has squared up. I'll go back to the UV texture editor now, and just like what we did with the body, I'm going to select it and I'm going to move it outside that main checkerboard area. I'll save what I have, and now let's do the leg. Now at the leg, we'll right click, go back to object mode, and that is going to be planar mapping in the x-axis. The x-axis is pointing where I really am concerned about putting the texture on the side. I'm not worried about the front. I'll hold down the space bar, I'll go to UVs, and I'll go to planar mapping, and this time I'll change it to X. Hit apply. Once again, I'll go to the channel window, make both the projection width and height 3. Then I'll right click on my geometry and return to the object mode. I'll turn off the checker reference. I'll right click and choose UV shell. I'm going to marquee select it. Even though we've combined the geometry, the shell has to be marquee selected to move. I'll drag that off to the left. And I think I'll put it up in the corner there so it's not overlapping the wing that I put over here. Now I want to separate out the foot and map it in the y-axis because I want to put a color across the tip of the shoe. To do that, I'm going to go to my viewports and I'm going to go to the side view, and I'll zoom in on the leg, and we're going to make a selection of these polygon faces. Now because it's at an angle already, I'm going to choose the marquee selection tool that is much like the lasso in Photoshop. It's the second tool down, right below the white arrow. If I were to right click and choose faces and then select that white arrow with the blue ellipse above it, I can now go in and start to select out an even row of my geometry. Now I missed a couple in the back, but if I hold Control and Shift, I can marquee select those and add them into the selection. Now I need to have to go up to the entire piece of geometry that comprises the shoe, so I'll hold down the Shift key. If I hit the close bracket for HTML, which is near the letter M, I can add rows of polygons to my selection. I'll go right up to the top. Now I'm going to hold down the space bar, I'll go to UVs, and I'm going to go to the planar mapping menu, and I'm going to set it for Y and hit apply. I'm going to return to my perspective view now, and when you look at your perspective view, you'll see that there is a virtual tool once you first introduce planar mapping. If I click on the red T in the corner now, I get all the tools to transform, scale, and move. I'll hit 4 on the keyboard because I want to get that blue circle to rotate the plane down so it's kind of going in the same angle as the shoe. And once I've done that, I'll grab the x-axis and I'll just tip it so it's roughly at the same angle. So if I were to hit 6 here, now that texture map is laying kind of the way I want it. Now because we're using planar mapping, we'll go to the channel box and we'll make sure the projection width and height are the same. And I'll just keep the same number, 3, and then I'm going to go to my texture editor. And you can see there's the shoe element. I'm going to take it and drag it and put it up near the leg for now. I'll return to my viewport, right click, and choose Object Mode. Now we're going to map the tail. So I'll click on the tail, I'll hit W, that's my x-axis. I'll hold down the space bar, UVs, planar mapping, and I'm going to change it to X. I'll hit apply. I'll go to my channel window, select both projection width and height, make it 3, and I'll drag that straight up outside that checkerboard. Sometimes I'll turn this back on if I've got enough, just to make sure I've got it where I need it outside that proprietary corner that the UV map will be in once we finish. We'll return to our modeling window. I'll right click and choose Object Mode, and we're going to select that tube that comes out of the back that the tail and the propeller are hooked to. Now that's going to be x-axis as well, so when I click apply, the window stays up so that if I need to make changes or if I need to apply it to other surfaces in the same orientation, I can do so without having to fish the window out again. So I'll click on apply, and I'll change my width and height projection once again to 3. I'll go to the UV editor, and I'll just drag that one off the bottom. Next we're going to map the propeller. I'll return to my viewport, right click, go back to my object mode, select the propeller, and because I've got the UV planar mapping attribute up, I can now change the orientation. In this case it will be the Z, the blue. I'll click on Z and I'll hit apply. And I'll go to my channel window, punch in 3 for both projection width and height. I'll go to my editor and I'm going to drag this down close to where that tailpipe is. Now we need to map the eyeball. So I'll return to my object mode, my viewport. I'll select the eyeball, and I'm going to go to the planar mapping options. And because this is in the same orientation as the propeller, it's also going to be Z. I'll hit apply, go to the channel window, change the projection width and height to 3. And I'm going to drag that one over here, I think. Now I'm going to return to my object mode, and let's select that torus, that donut shape that's around the eye geometry. And I'm going to use the planar mapping. It's already set for Z. I'll hit apply. I'll make it 3. I'll go to the UV editor, and I'm going to drag it over in the general vicinity of this corner where the eyeball resides. We'll go back to our viewport, and we've got one last element to UV map, and that's going to be this arm with the sphere attached to it. So I'll right click, go to object mode, select that geometry, and this one's going to be, we're going to change this one to X. So I'll select X, apply, and I'll change the width and height projection to 3. In our UV editor, I'll just put that over here for now. Now we're going to gather up all the UV maps and scale them to fit inside that checkerboard corner. I'll go back to my object mode, and I'll marquee select the elements that we've UV mapped. So that's everything but that cone shape. And if we go to the UV editor now, you'll see that all those pieces are highlighted. I think the first I'm going to do is I'm going to put the torus that goes around the eyeball closer to the eyeball itself. I'll right click and choose UV shell, and I'll select the torus, hit W, and I'll move it over. I want a little bit of extra wiggle room here, so I'm going to scale it up a bit so it's beyond the actual circumference of the eyeball, but still close to it. And then I'll marquee select those two, and I guess I'll put them over here. So I probably will start by selecting the body. The texture map on the body is going to be the most prominent because it's the largest piece of geometry. So let's put that in there, and I'll just scale that so that it's almost across that checkerboard pattern from one side to the other. And I'm going to tuck it in the corner so I can use this space more efficiently. Now I know that that tail piece is kind of small. I'll put it over here, and I'm going to even scale it down a little bit more so it fits inside. The placement and the scale of these UVs is really very subjective. Now the wing's a pretty good size surface, so I'll click on it. And you can see that if I select just the plane, the cylinder and the sphere are not selected, so I want to marquee select that. I'll start to scale it down a bit, and I'll tuck that right in here. And I'll probably scale just a little more to come inside that box. Next I'm going to get the leg, and I'll marquee select both of them, and I'll drag them down, maybe put them here, and I'll scale them to fit in that area. And if I wanted to, I could optimize the space a little bit more by perhaps selecting just the upper part of the leg, leaving the foot out of the selection, and hitting E on the keyboard and just rotating it a little bit. And this will give me an opportunity to move it up and tuck it into that corner. Now I'll select the shoe, and I'll put that there. Alright, so I'm going to marquee select the propeller. I'll move it up closer to the tailpipe. I'll shift select both, move them in, and I'll start to scale those down as well. Next I'll go over and get the arm. I'll put that here, and I'll scale that just a little bit. Now we just have to get the eye. I'll marquee select both of these elements. I'll scale it in, and I think I'll put these here. And we've got everything we need now inside that UV quadrant, right? If I put on my checkerboard, you can see now there are all the UV surfaces mapped out. Now I'm going to return to my viewport, go to my object mode. Once again, I'll marquee select the elements that have been UV mapped. Now that I've got them all selected, I'll go to Image, UV Snapshot. I'll browse to my project folder, and I'll name it Bot Skin. I'll save it, making sure that it's set for PNG, the image format, and then the size. The X and the Y axes are both 2048 by 2048, and I'll choose Apply and Close.